You're right on time for Hope TV Newswatch on this 30th day of January 2023, a day that has seen grade 7 learners officially join the junior secondary school after completing the first level of the CBC curriculum. Now, parents with learners joining grade 7 have expressed mixed reactions in as much as the transition is concerned. Tonight, we'll be having a discussion regarding the same, and we are asking, are grade 7 learners prepared for the great transition to junior secondary school? In studio, we'll be having an education expert to help us dissect the whole issue. You too can engage in the discussion by sharing your views on Twitter at HopeTV_KE and at KennedyKimani_. The hashtag, as always, is HopeTV Newswatch. A very good evening to you and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Kennedy Kimani, and assisting the sign language interpretation tonight is our very own Boniface Murithi. Now, President William Ruto has finally responded to allegations by Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga that former IBC officials visited Odinga's home to solicit a bribe in order to declare him the winner of the presidential election. Speaking during the 16th annual general meeting and conference of Africa Prosecutors Association held in Mombasa County on Monday, President William Ruto dared Odinga to answer why he invited Chebukati to his house. The head of state has questioned why the Azimio leader did not share the allegations with the Supreme Court but opted to share them publicly during a public rally held at the Jacaranda grounds on Sunday.
I understand that prosecutors occasionally come under immense pressure for other political considerations. I want to encourage you that you have an opportunity as a prosecutor to make history, to build an institution that can transcend your own term in office by not succumbing to impunity. And sometimes it is overbearing in an office. I was listening, for example, yesterday, and that's why I know the job of a prosecutor is difficult. I was listening yesterday to one of our politicians who was alleging that members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission went to his house. And he's telling this story 5 months after the act. And he's volunteering this information laced with insinuations that the officials had gone there for something he has not disclosed. It begs the question, if it is true, what were these officials doing in your house at your invitation? Being a candidate, how did you end up inviting officials of an independent body to your house? It also begs the question, you had an opportunity to bring up this evidence of alleged bribery before 7 judges of the Supreme Court. You did not. You have instead chosen to take this big announcement to a political rally.
Moving on, Interior CS Kithure Kindiki has on Monday presided over the launch of a new police unit dubbed the Water Protection Unit in efforts to protect critical water assets in the country from criminal activities. Speaking during the launch, Kindiki cited the increasing cases of vandalism and destruction of water infrastructure which have paralyzed operations in water delivery. Our very own Tiffany Wamboi gives us that report.
Cases of vandalism and destruction of the country's water assets and infrastructure have gone on for long, with cases often regarded as criminal and perpetrators facing charges under the penal code. However, more stringent laws will now be applicable to further deter the offences that have endangered the country's efforts to efficiently supply the essential commodity to its citizens, thanks to the formation of the Water Protection Unit. The ministries of Interior and Administration and that of Water and Sanitation have collaborated to launch the Water Protection Unit, which is mandated with safeguarding water assets in the country from vandalism and destruction of water infrastructure. The unit will also be tasked with responding to other emerging security dynamics in the Ministry of Water. The launch, which was attended by Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki, his Principal Secretary counterpart Raymond Omolo, and Water and Sanitation Principal Secretary Paul Rono, will see the protection of water facilities in close to 34 counties under the State Water Works Development Agencies. Speaking during the launch, CS Kindiki acknowledged the fragility of the water sector, citing the possible security concerns that arise when not protected.
Water and the infrastructure that delivers water to the people of Kenya, it's a very essential commodity, very essential infrastructure, but also very delicate, because any unauthorized access to water sources or water infrastructure can cause tremendous security risks for the country.
He further stated that the government has categorized water infrastructure as part of the critical sector of the country, which will be placed under the Critical Infrastructure Police Unit and the Protected Areas Act.
I have gazetted, effective this month, water infrastructure, water reservoirs, and all critical water sources as part of critical infrastructure that falls under the Protected Areas Act, which provides for special protection and which provides for procedures of removal from persons who might be found in those places without authorization.
PS Rono, while echoing his sentiments, noted that the government has been losing 10.6 billion shillings every year due to criminal activities surrounding water resources, lack of bill payment, and wrong metering.
The government has been losing close to 10.6 billion every year because of non-revenue water, which are related to destruction of the water infrastructure, non-payment of water bills, and wrong meterings, among others. And to address this issue of non-revenue water, there is need to see the components which are associated to non-revenue water, which one of it is the destruction of the infrastructure, and another one is related to the commercial issues.
Section 3 of the Protected Areas Act states that if, as respects any area, place or premises, it appears to the minister to be necessary or expedient in the interests of public safety and public order, that special precautions should be taken to prevent the entry of unauthorized persons. He may, by order published in the Gazette, declare such area, place or premises to be a protected area for the purposes of the Act, and so long as the order is in force, no person shall, subject to any exemptions for which provision may be made in the order, be in such protected area without the permission of the prescribed authority or such other person as may be specified in the order. Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Tiffany Wamboy.
Thank you, Tiffany, for that report. Now, police officers have lamented over the lack of equipment and funds to carry out their duties as the task force looking into their welfare, chaired by retired Chief Justice David Maraga, held its inaugural meeting. The task force is seeking to eliminate any operational shortcomings in the police department and enhance the working environment for security employees. During the hearings, the different police departments explained how they have coordinated the obstacles that prevent them from fully carrying out their duties, citing the various challenges encountered. The task force is currently receiving public views on improvements into the terms of service of the officers. Our very own Dolly Murigi now reports.
Following the swearing-in of the 20-member National Committee that President William Ruto appointed, the path toward changing the terms and conditions of employment for police and prison service officers officially began this month and is currently in the public participation phase.
That's what I thought, eh?
The task force, led by former Chief Justice David Maraga on Monday, asked Kenyans to submit their views on the improvement of terms of National Police Service (NPS) and Kenya Prison Service (KPS) as part of the public participation.
We are calling upon members of the public organized groups and institutions to email to us or deliver hard copies to us at Bomas of Kenya, written memoranda of their views. Last week, the task force gave notice of this through advertisements in 3 newspapers. That was on Friday, 27th of January, in which we gave even the email address. In that advertisement, we shared with the members of the public a schedule of the public hearings we shall hold in 47 counties.
Maraga said that the task force had divided itself into two, with various committee members going to seek views in the counties.
We will be very, very careful to make sure that those officers freely talk. We are not going to say we have heard this from so and so. Do you see what I mean? We are not going to say, we are not going to name names. We will take the views from those officers. In fact, when we write the report, the senior officers will not even know where we got those views from.
At a hearing before the task force, the different police departments said that they coordinated the obstacles that prevent them from fully carrying out their duties, such as modern firearms, explosive devices and vehicles, among other challenges.
The service is what is the one that bought me the wheelchair and also chipped in to buy me a medically fit bed. And also, the service is the one that has also been, checking on me on how, there are a lot of things that we use. I use a urine bag, all those things. The service is the one that stands for that.
We would like the medical cover enhanced.
Yes.
Also, compensation to an officer who is injured in the line of duty, an officer who finally pays the ultimate price in providing security in his country, to his country, so that there is adequate compensation.
However, Maraga said that the task force had already received the memorandum from the National Police Service Commission.
We have reached out to the National Police Service Commission. We have reached out to IPOA. We have reached out to the services, and we have actually asked them to each make their own memorandum. We are considering all that. As I mentioned, one of the major issues that this task force is going to deal with is the issue of operational constraints.
The Maraga-led team is also tasked with analysing and making recommendations for improvement in all other topics incidental to the best service delivery, including those relating to the welfare of the officers in all cadres of the National Police Service and the Kenya Prison Service. Dolly Mirigimbovi for Hope TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Dolly, for that report. Now to a big story of the day, and the enrollment of grade 7 learners into junior secondary schools kicked off countrywide today. The students who pioneered the KPSEA exam in 2022 are joining grade 7 classes for the start of the junior secondary school education. Education CES Ezekiel Machogu, who led the launch of JSS education at Nairobi Primary School in Nairobi County, said his ministry has improved all the schools authorized to implement the new education system in the history of the nation and warned day schools against charging extra levies. This comes even as parents expressed mixed reactions about the exercise. Our very own Gloria Musimbi with more on the story.
The government, through the Ministry of Education, has officially started the exercise of admitting students who took the inaugural KPSEA 2022 exam to begin their grade 7 classes under the CBC curriculum known as Junior Secondary School, JSS. Hope TV Newswatch carried out a spot check of primary schools in Nairobi to witness the activity. This school, established in 1929, is one of the schools that has achieved the requirements and conditions for conducting JSS education, some parents and students expressing their expectation and concerns at the same time.
The JSS makes you feel very like you have grown up very fast. You look forward to the new uniform. You look forward to meeting new people in their new classes. And you can't hold your excitement behind. You can't hide it.
Really happy because of today that we'll have new things to learn, the subjects. There will be more subjects, especially life skills is what I'm really excited about. that I've always been interested in how I can make my life better and where to start. So I'm really excited.
I'm happy because the uniform is changing. We don't want shorts. Baridi inatupiga sana.
And I'm happy because we have more subjects and the uniform is going to be changed. I know hair, and you can put a hairstyle, but you put it like a ponytail. And then the classrooms, they are well made, and I'm happy because we are going to GSS.
The chairman of the School Board of Management, Arap B, stated there has been consultative meetings and negotiations with the parents of students who are expected to join the 7th grade in order to reach an agreement on the uniforms that the students will use as advised by the Ministry of Education.
It was important for us to hold meetings with them so that they can agree on the kind of uniform. So it was unanimously agreed that we're going to have a distinct uniform for JSS. And the girls are going to have maybe introduction of skirts, and then the boys will also have trousers. There is a team that was formed to look into that, to look into the issue of uniform, and I think they've finalized it.
While the students are expected to officially start classes on Thursday this week, parents have expressed their mixed feelings regarding the registration exercise that kicked off today in various schools across the country. The cost of school uniforms was a thorny issue.
For sure, I see it in my child that she has really improved. She can do things by herself at this age, and I find it practical and close home. We do things together, unlike the way we used to do it with class 8, that children are just learning, cramming things.
We normally have Zoom meetings, we are updated, then we hold meetings at any time. So there is nothing of a concern to me. As far as a parent is concerned, we are very much okay with the school's management.
Yes, there are challenges which have been there, especially the issue of infrastructure. Just like another school, the space may not be enough. There are things which are required, like laboratories, which have not been for primary schools. But for now, we have to do that.
Arap B cited lack of infrastructure, lack of funds among other challenges they face, while asking stakeholders in the education sector to ensure that CDF funds are allocated for the construction of laboratories and additional classrooms. According to the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, who led the activity to review the school's readiness to receive these students, there is need for lawmakers to prioritize the construction of laboratories in each school using CDF funds. Machogu cautioned school principals against expelling students who do not have required uniform in school.
We have requested the members of parliament, because they get CDF funds, that we can be able to partner with them in order that before the end of this year, we can have laboratories in each and every one of our junior secondary schools countrywide.
Reporting for Hope TV Newswatch, I'm Gloria Musimbi.
Thank you, Gloria, for that report. Now, still matters education, and 25 teachers working in schools within the terror-prone Boni Forest in Lamu County were on Monday morning airlifted by a military chopper to their respective institutions. A multi-agency security operation, Amani Boni team, led by the Kenya Defence Forces, coordinated the ferrying of the teachers and their luggages back to their working zones from the Mokowe airstrip. Mangai, Mararani, Milimani, Basuba, Kiangawe primary schools had remained closed for a week after the teachers failed to report back to the institutions due to transport challenges. Lamu Education Director Joshua Kaaga thanked the security agencies for their effort in ensuring the over 400 pupils in Boni Forest resume learning like the rest of their counterparts in the country. Now to our main discussion for tonight. The pioneer group of the competency-based curriculum has today joined grade 7 in the junior secondary school after completing the first level of the new education system. This is after the government introduced CBC in 2017 to replace the traditional 844 system that was introduced in 1985 by the late former President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. Now, parents of learners joining grade 7 have expressed mixed reactions in as much as the transition is concerned, with many complaining that the transition has not been properly structured. Our question for tonight is, are grade 7 learners prepared for the great transition to junior secondary school? You can engage in the discussion by sharing your views on Twitter at HopeTV_KE and at Kennedy Kimani_. In studio, I am joined by Danston Bobea, who is an academic consultant at Ramani Africa Educational Services. Karibu sana, Danston.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bwana Ken.
Yeah, let's begin straight, in the discussion. And
Yes.
do you think learners are actually prepared for the transition?
Good question. Mixed reactions here. Learners could be prepared, but there are many other stakeholders that are not. The major one here is the government. I know I'm on Hope TV. I'm supposed to give hope. But truth be said, there isn't so much hope I'll give, because the situation in our secondary schools is in our primary schools is so wanting. Today we have no teachers, but learners have reported. And so we have a situation where learners are in schools, no teachers, especially in public schools. Maybe the people who are a bit fair, at least something is going on, is in private schools. And so it's a very, very big crisis. And I did not, as an expert, I did not agree with the recommendation of the Presidential Working Party to take secondary school to primary schools. Already our Professor Magoha, may his soul rest in peace, had done a lot to prepare the schools, secondary schools, to take these students at the secondary level. So why the government backtracked and took them to primary school is a matter I could not understand.
Because actually many parents were arguing concerning the same issue. By December last year,
Yes.
when actually the parents knew that
Yes.
the junior secondary schools would be domiciled in
Yes.
the primary school. Why
Yes.
do you think that was the case?
Now, the main reason they give is actually age factor. They say the children are a bit young because of they are around 12, 13 years. And another reason they give is they talk of cost. They say it is easier for the children to continue with their learning at the nearby primary schools. But I will tell you it is counterproductive, because most of the things that are required in primary, they're actually more than what is required in secondary school. Remember, at the secondary school level, we have teachers. Yeah. And there can be no learning without teachers. Teachers are the major ingredient. All the secondary schools have teachers already. So if this junior secondary was domiciled in secondary schools, then learning would have gone on without a lot of issues because of the teachers. We have the labs, okay? And so whatever they were trying to cut on in terms of cost and all the other things is a big problem, because now there are no teachers. The government is trying to employ one teacher per every primary school, yet there are 14 learning areas.
Well, many have blamed the lack of infrastructure in secondary schools, more so
Yes.
concerning the labs.
Yes.
Do you think on the ground that is the case?
You see now, comparatively, secondary schools are much far better than primary schools, because there is no single public primary school with a lab. Yeah, if you get, maybe it will be 0.0001%. But all secondary schools are equipped with science labs. So it's a tall order for the government to build labs across all the schools in the country. Now, there are no teachers in primary schools, but all secondary schools have teachers. So it was not right for the government to take these secondary school education to the primary level. The only reason they gave was age and cost, but I think we'll have done better with the children in secondary schools than primary.
Well, up to now, not all the primary schools have been recommended.
Yes.
Have all the requirements to host junior secondary schools.
Yes.
Meaning that many parents have been forced to take their children to other schools,
Yes.
causing logistical issues.
Yes.
I mean, how do you think this is going to be addressed? Because you find that many schools, more so in the rural areas,
Yes.
they are not going back to their former schools. They have
Yes.
to be transferred. I mean, for the parents, I mean, how are we going to solve this issue?
It's a big challenge, because I saw one parent saying that they have transferred their children and the nearby secondary school or primary school they have been advised to take their children is 7 kilometers away. So that's a big challenge. And if you consider the age of the children and the fact, the gender issues, for example, girls trekking for over 7 kilometers to school and back, it would be a big challenge, and therefore the government must just pull up their socks. Actually, if the government is listening to people like us, they needed just to domicile junior secondary school in secondary schools. That will have finished this whole problem. But taking them to primary schools, trying to merge schools here and there, it will not work. It will not work. It will have to take a lot of time, unfortunately. As it takes time, learning is supposed to be going on, because for the learners, everything continues. And so there's a lot we lose there. I know I'm supposed to give hope, but yeah.
Well, many have complained that not just the junior secondary school, but CBC at large is very, very expensive.
Yes.
Looking at the cost of uniforms. You know, right now, grade 7 learners are going to have a new set of uniforms.
Yes.
I mean, how difficult is it for the parents right now?
Of course it is. It is tough because, as you've said, they have to buy a new set of uniforms. And even though the government is trying to tell parents that, or to tell schools that they should not sell uniforms to the learners, or they should not direct them to sell at a particular level, it becomes a bit problematic to implement that. Because if a school maybe feels that the kind of uniform they want is only, maybe the quality they want is found in shop X, then you cannot just go at home and buy something. If it is white or any other color, you cannot just buy any color and take them to school. So it's a tall order for the parents in these harsh economic times. But I think CBC, as we've said, it is a good program, but the implementation was so hurried, and now the consequences have caught us now. Yeah.
So the other day we saw the trade CS, Moses Kuria, saying that parents should not be forced to buy school uniforms in schools. I mean, as an education expert, what's your take on that? Of
course, he's trying to help the parent here. But I want to tell you, my brother, that things on the ground, mambo ni tofauti. Because, as I've told you, here is a situation where the head teacher knows that maybe shop X has the quality uniform that we want. But you are telling parents to go and get any material. If maybe our color is blue, you will get different shades of blue in school. So that's why schools usually insist that it has to be one particular place. What maybe the CS should have done is to say, they are leveraging on those who are in the manufacturing and those who can do those uniforms to do them, so that there are many shops selling that. But you cannot direct parents that they should not buy in shop X when you have not provided. You know how these things work. You have to provide the demand and supply. You have to provide, and then when they are there in plenty, people will choose where to buy from. Yeah.
Because actually the argument by parents is that schools are overpricing the uniforms.
Yes.
You are a teacher yourself.
Yes, yes.
Do you think that's the case?
Okay, truth be said, it has been a problem because I was a student, I am a teacher, I'm an expert, I've gone to schools, I work with schools all over the country, and I know the cry of the parents. But now the question is, are there options? Are there options? And I've asked you a question. If our school uniform is maybe sky blue and maybe a dark gray trouser, how many shops are providing our shade? Because there will be so many blue uniforms brought in our school. Then now that will not be uniform. So in as much as the government and the trade CS is sympathizing with the parents, but now supply is what is supposed to be there. Let them enable groups of young people to come up with the uniforms and then provide in so many shops. And then they will they'll tell parents to buy from wherever they are available. But now you cannot tell someone not to buy from a specific shop, yet there is no alternative. If the alternatives are there, well and good.
The other issue is concerning the books.
Yes.
14 subjects are going to be taught at grade 7.
Exactly.
12 of them are compulsory.
Yes.
It's a tall order for parents to buy all these books. It's very expensive for them compared to 844 system. I mean, as an education expert, from where you see it, which is the better option?
Okay, the beauty is in public education, the public primary schools or the public junior secondary, the government is providing books. That's an advantage because now parents in public schools, right from grade 1 now, all the books are being provided by the government. So parents will not shoulder that burden. In fact, now there is no school in our country that is forcing pupils to buy a specific book. Even if there are revision materials, like I've written books myself, but in public schools, they tell them it's optional. You can buy, kama una uwezo. If you cannot afford, wachana now, because the ones that must be used in the school have been bought by the government. So that's the beauty. So then that leaves here now parents who have taken their children in private schools. Those are the ones now with now a lot of trouble, because now they have to buy all the 14.
All
yes,
right.
yes.
So it's actually the parents in the private schools
yes,
who are
those are the ones that will suffer. I need to add something, that when you talk about private schools, some people think that private schools are always the high-end, expensive schools. The problem we have, for example, in Nairobi is that we don't have many public schools. So you realize that like maybe around here you'll get maybe 1 or 2, and there are so many parents. So they are usually forced to take their children to the low-cost private schools. And so these parents suffer in the end. So if there was a way in which the government will also consider them, especially being that look at slum areas. You go to places like Kibra and other places, you get that maybe there's 1 or 2 public primary schools. So the low-cost private schools usually come up. And those ones, the government should look for ways of helping them also.
So a solution to the parents is to take their kids to the public schools.
But they are not there, you see. Sasa inabidi wajikaze too, because they are not there. The public schools are not there. Like in Nairobi, if you try to take your child to a public primary school, you will not even get space, because there are many, many, many.
All right.
Yeah.
My director is telling me we take a news break right now, but after the break, you're still going to delve into this discussion, and you can contribute to this discussion on Twitter at HopeTV_KE and at Kennedy Kimani_. See you after this short news break.
Every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Spotlight.
Do you feel like they are in a place where they can effect a Barack Obama moment?
When you hear the word of God and you hear Jesus is speaking.
Real talk on real issues.
You know, the Bible says faith without works is dead.
The truth of the gospel that will survive the time is not a health and wealth gospel.
When there is time to harmonize and bring one composite amendment.
With idealistic, thought-provoking guests.
So people come to be serviced, to be encouraged, to be empowered.
When the storm is over, you desire the closeness you have with God.
Hosted by Reverend Edward Furi. This week on Testify.
And I'm just meeting with my friends, but I'm telling no one. You know, no one knows that I'm now getting depressed. I'm just laughing with my friends. And now I decided to take my own life. But now what is keeping me here is meeting with my friends.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I have to play the part. I have to, to get out and let's laugh together. And everything is okay. I don't have any problems. But now I'm like, on Friday, I'll just take my life.
Hope TV. Look and live.
Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV Newswatch. Now, before the break, we had asked you to engage in this discussion on Twitter. And at Joski Shams on Twitter says, there's nothing like preparedness in this transition. I don't understand how junior school pupils has to change the uniform color within the same school. CBC is too expensive to some parents. I mean, how can you comment on this?
It is true, because actually if we are domiciling junior secondary and primary schools, then the children should have just continued with what they were doing, with the same uniforms and the same management. Do you know the government is talking of different uniforms? It's talking of, like, I think after 1 year, they are talking of having a different, totally different kind of outside for the junior secondary. They are talking of building even an office for the new, they'll bring new head teachers. they'll take new teachers to those schools, in primary schools. There's a lot of confusion, my brother.
Yeah.
The easiest route will have been for the government to take the children to secondary schools. And then the parents will just know that my child is now in secondary school and buy the uniform once and maybe change if the children continue growing. So now that we are here, you see, now we are just forced to live with what we have, and everybody tried to find their way out.
Yeah, before the break, you talked about teachers.
Yes.
And actually, the Kenya National Union of Teachers has raised the flag on a teacher deficiency to successfully handle the junior secondary school.
Yes.
Do you think it's the case? There were 30,000 teachers who are supposed to be recruited early this year.
Yes.
Have they been recruited? What's the plan like?
The situation is so dire because the recruitment is not yet complete, the process. A few teachers have had their letters, they have received their letters. Majority of them haven't received. Today, I've done my research on the ground. Actually, almost all the public primary schools haven't received the teachers for the junior secondary. Now, the major problem is the number of teachers, because the government is talking of only one teacher per school. There are 14 learning areas or subjects as we know them. Now, how will one teacher handle the 14? And then the government, TSC, tries to talk about there are other teachers with diploma and degree in primary schools. They haven't recruited them, or they haven't upgraded them. We had a whole holiday of 2 to 3 months. They should have done that so that when opening happens like now, the teachers are ready. But that's not the situation. So I don't understand why we are dealing with these issues in that way, and yet it affects directly the lives of millions of learners.
Yeah. Let's talk about the psychological aspect for these grade 7 learners.
Yes.
Most of them were expecting to go to new schools.
Yes.
Maybe some of them were tired.
Yes.
Seeing the same teachers.
Yes.
They wanted to go to another environment. I mean, how is this for them?
It is a challenge, and most of the schools are really to employ some kind of psychosocial support for the children. Unfortunately, even that person to do that is not there, because even the teachers to teach them anything is not there. So in Kenya, you just have to survive. The children will just learn to survive because, as you say rightly, when they were doing their final exams, they were telling other children in their schools, "Kwaheri tuonane, sisi tumeenda secondary." They were bragging to class 7s and 8. "We are leaving you here, we are going to secondary, you are in primary." But they have gone back to the same schools. It's so unfortunate, but I think we just have to live with it. The right thing for the government to do, and I keep repeating, my brother, is that let these things be in the transition period. Let them give it around up to the time 844 is over. Then once 844 is over, let them take these children to secondary schools. It will be the easiest route. Professor Mago had built at least one classroom, and there were labs. And there are teachers. It will have been easier. So all these problems the government is just forcing itself into, I do not understand why.
Well, talking of psychological issues, and there's this group of learners, the class 8 now.
Yes.
They are the top class in primary school. But then we also have the junior secondary school, who are also the pioneers of the junior secondary school, and they're also the, there's that battle. You remember the Form 3, Form 4 battle in high school? Now we have class 8 and the junior secondary.
So we have class 8 in primary, but grade 7 in secondary school. But let me tell you, maybe the children might not understand, but the people who are happy today are those class 8s. Because for them, 844 is defined. Yes. In fact, many of the people, parents and all the others are saying, I wish to learn 844. And the reason why they are saying that is because 844 is defined. At least they know that from class 8, they are sure they go to secondary school. From there, they go to university. This one of junior secondary is not known. It's not definite. So even if they try to laugh at each other, at the end of the day, the class 8 is better off. Yeah, because his or her path is defined.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as you conclude, the Education Task Force is set to give its final report in the month of March this year to President William Ruto. Now, as an education expert, what are your expectations of this report? What do you want to see in this report?
Yes. I want to see the task force recommending to the president that this kind of confusion is here only for the transition period. After the 844 is done, we have the last batch of class 8. Once they go up to Form 4, I expect junior secondary to go to secondary schools. If there are places like in those hardship areas, the arid areas and semi-arid, where secondary schools are so far apart, the government can come in and do something specifically for them. But generally the country, it will have been easy. We can even decide to take all of them to day schools, but secondary. because the infrastructure is there. All this rushing up and down is not helpful. And I know the president means well, having been just, elected, he's still new in office. And so he needs to be guided in the right direction. And I believe maybe the major beneficiaries here could be maybe private schools, because for them they are well set. Most of them, especially the high end, they are well set, they have their teachers, they have the infrastructure. But now in public schools, which has the majority of learners, it's a bit of a problem. So let the task force advise the president in the right way, because I'm sure the president is ready and willing to do what he shall be told to do. But now when they mislead him and tell them that we are talking about junior secondary, and then the children are in primary, what is that, my friend? That's confusion.
Many have said that the 844 system was better. Do you think maybe we can, as a country, go back to the 844 system, or the ship has already sailed?
Now, okay, comparatively, CBC is better, because CBC is about the competencies and the skills. For example, you are a news anchor, and you are doing a lot of mathematics and chemistry and physics, and which you might not be applying in life now. Just the same way, there's another person who's a mathematician, but they could be having a problem with the languages and all those things. So the beauty with the CBC is that it wants to try and bring out the competencies in each person. If you have a good talent, like in drawing and all the other things, you go there, so that you are not bogged down by these hard academic issues. That's the beauty with CBC. The problem with 844 is that it's just theoretical. You have to cram those things, then apply in the exams, and after exams, you cannot remember anything. And most importantly, you are forced to do things that might not really help you in life. Like I have a very bad grade in mathematics myself, which is still laughing at me on my certificate. I do not apply it anywhere. I have very good grades in my Kiswahili and English and all that. So why was it necessary for me to be pushed to do mathematics? Why was it compulsory for my case? So that's why CBC is coming in to say, let's continue seeing your competencies as you continue. Yeah. Then at the senior level, you take what you call a pathway. A pathway is a route, where if you are a mathematician, you take the STEM route. If you are a language person, like you now in the media and all that, you take the social sciences and languages are there. If you are somebody who is good in maybe business or home science, you take the technical route. If you are not very academically gifted, but you have a very good talent, we take you where your talent is. That's where the CBC comes in as the best. And CBC has a lot of practical things. Today, children from CBC can brush their shoes, they can cook, because they are doing it at school. But 844 is just to end asubuhi, like now class 8s. They are not going for breaks because of KCPE. So kuanzia asubuhi mpaka usiku, they are just in class, cramming and kurudia theories and theories which do not help after school. And that's why if you ask a student who scored even an A in chemistry or in any subject, give them that paper 2 months or 1 month down the line, my friend, they'll score even an E. Because they were just cramming for the exam.
Cramming the whole time.
Yes.
Yeah, as we conclude, any hope for the parent to feel like, they are overwhelmed by this CBC? It's very expensive for them. For the learner, who feel like it's too much for them. Any hope for them?
Yes. We need to live in a world full of hope, because where there's no hope, many things will die off. So the hope I have is that we have a government, and at the end of the day, the government will try to do something for the children. So let us just be hopeful. Let us keep talking so that the government listens. I know they are watching us. There are people watching us tonight. Let them advise the government accordingly. If there are no teachers in primary schools, let them rescind this decision. It's not late, and take the children to secondary schools. It will help. And then we continue with our learning But this government talking about building a lab, a good science lab, in every public institution. I don't know how many ages or years it will take. Anyway, let us be hopeful and pray that the government, especially the president, the backstops are the presidency. Yeah. Let us hope that the president will see these things and do what is right for our children.
Well, let us be hopeful. Thank you so much, Danston Bobea, for the great insights on the CBC curriculum and junior secondary school in particular. Well, that has been Danston Bobea, who is an academic consultant at Ramani Africa Educational Services. And thank you so much for tuning in to that discussion. We go straight to the main news of the day. And the Principal Secretary of the State Department of Gender, Varun Kanduva, has lauded civil society's efforts to advanced women's leadership in the last elections. Speaking today during the launch of the report on gender perspectives from the Kenya 2022 general elections by Eco Network Africa, Democracy's Trust Fund and UN Women Kenya, PS Nduva said the rights groups, especially women's rights groups, played a critical role in helping to get more women elected in various capacities.
The strategy highlights the challenges inhibiting the equal participation of women in political leadership and makes recommendations for progressively leveling the political landscape to move Kenya to a level where women can equally compete with men for leadership and elective positions. It's noteworthy that Kenya has recorded an increase in the representation of women leadership in all arms of government. In the recent national elections, there was an impressive performance by women candidates, which witnessed an increase in elected female MPs from 10% to 10% from 7.9 in 2017. Female governors rose to 14.89% from 6.38 in 2017. The elected female members of county assemblies also increased to 7.93 to 7% from 6% in 2017. But the question we should pose to ourselves and what we need to ask ourselves is, I looked at the County Assemblies Forum. There are no women in leadership within the county assemblies. So it should not be a question of just bringing the numbers, but what positions of leadership are we occupying? How many of the women MCAs are actually chairs of the committees? How many of them are in substantive positions? Are they whips? Are they minority or majority leaders? Are they speakers? So I think that should really be at the back of our minds.
Moving on, and the Media Council of Kenya has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Council of Governors ICT and Knowledge Management Committee that will seek to enhance collaborative capacity building of county communications and media staff. The MOU signed by AMSK Chief Executive Officer David Omoyo and COG ICT Chairman Wisely Rotich is also seeking to improve in relations between the county governments and journalists, and will develop training curricula on devolution for the media from model practical perspectives in the county governments.
We want to ensure that the devolution story is told in a different way and in an inspiring manner that can be able to make sure that devolution is a success story. Majorly on my term as the chair of ICT, I want to ensure that the story that is told is something that will attract investors to the counties and ensure that counties are centers of development, centers of investments, and ensure that we have a good working relationship with the Media Council. We have also committed as the county governments and the COG that will provide a good environment for journalists to work at the counties to report objectively without bias. We have agreed that we want to train our communication officers, we want to train our officers at the counties and even at COG to ensure that they can be able to present the story very well and report everything that happens in our counties. There is a lot that is happening across. Other counties are doing better in one thing, others are doing better in others. So we want to merge and marry all those stories.
The MOU signed today will promote knowledge management and sharing. We will do our very best through training, capacity building, and providing access to information. So now then the media tells the devolution story from a positive perspective. It's within their right to highlight shortcomings of government and those in authority. They also have an obligation to show successes and achievements. And there are very many positive stories. You move around this country, move around from Lodward down to Kwale, you see a lot that has happened in the 10 years of devolution. So we will do our best, capacity building of journalists, knowledge sharing, access to information, and also providing them with relevant media relations a lot, both at COG and the different counties, to make sure that then Kenyans in the 47 counties and across the country get access to timely, relevant information and not just lamentations and the bad happenings around there. So while the media it's within their right to highlight our failings in government, they will also meet their obligation to provide timely, accurate information.
Now, the family of the late former rally driver Asad Khan has strongly opposed the closure of the investigation file into his murder by the Director of Public Prosecutions before the outcome of the investigation is made public. The aggrieved family, through lawyer Danson Omari, told Senior Principal Magistrate Bernard Ochoi that the request by the investigating officer to close the file was ill-timed, as the family is more concerned about knowing who killed the former rally driver. Assad's partner Maxine Wahome was arrested on the 12th of December last year over his death and produced in court in the same month, where police sought time to investigate the cause and people behind the death of the late rally driver. Maxine is out on bond and was ordered to be reporting to the DCI offices in Kilimani every Thursday of the week. The court said it will make its decision on the matter on the 15th of February.
I'm appearing for the family of the killed person, Ashad, the murdered person, because the murdered person cannot give instructions. I'm appearing for his brothers, for his father, for his relatives, specific. And that's, Your Honor, the instructions I was trying to tell counsel here, that in the miscellaneous application, a dead man has been identified.
We are today in court with no such evidence. So I'm using the word murder and I'm objecting to the use of such language. PC Kibei has said he investigated the matter. The DPP is yet to make a decision. As Mr. Omari himself said, as the prosecutor said, let us wait for that decision to be made.
It is our contention that any information that they are applying for to obtain now, prior to the DPP making his final conclusion, is not only premature, but is likely to be misused and abused. Lastly, as the court is pronouncing itself on the issues that have been raised, I would still restate on the role of any other party outside the respondent and the applicant in a miscellaneous application to be clearly addressed.
Let's cross borders now, and police in northern Pakistan have reported that 10 children perished as 7 others got injuries after a boat capsized on a lake in northern Pakistan. The boat was carrying 25 to 30 students when it capsized on the Tanda Dam Kohat Lake. Police have said that rescue operations are ongoing. The tragedy happened on the same day. A bus crash in southern Pakistan killed 39 people.
It's forever enough, always enough. Anything goes from singing, dance to gymnastics to mind-blowing art. All you need is a skill and a style quality.
I'm 5 years old and I'm a skater.
Make sure it is very straight and clean.
Just remember to join us every Saturday with me, your host, Tamika Arnett.
Welcome back. Now let's get down to business. Absa Bank Kenya has unveiled an automatic teller machine withdrawal option on its mobile wallet platform Timiza, allowing subscribers to withdraw funds from any of the bank's ATMs across the country. Timiza, which officially launched in March 2018, is a virtual banking platform with over 5 million registered users. Absa Bank's head of digital channels, Steve Omamo, said the upgrade on Timiza is in line with the bank's commitment to continue investing in digitally led innovative solutions that are relevant to evolving consumer needs. The facility will enable both retail and business customers to withdraw cash from the convenience of the mobile phones at no additional charges, since the service attracts the same charges as the current ATM debit card withdrawal fees. And to some sporting action now, and KCB chess team players have proved their prowess after producing 5 players out of 10 will form the team heading for the All-African Games scheduled to take place in Accra, Ghana later in the year. The 5 include Robert Makileo, Bernard Nguku, Joseph Medu and Benjamin Magana in the open sections, while woman candidate master Joyce Nyaruai made the cut in the ladies section. The third and the final leg of the Chess All-African Games qualifiers came to an end on Sunday at the Utalii Hotel in Nairobi with 10 best players set to represent Kenya at the All-African Games in Ghana.
This is the toughest qualifier we ever had, both in the ladies and in the open section, because usually we have like one person with a lead of like 2 or 3 points. But this time people are just following closely. Up to the last round, it's not clear who's in, who's out. We're actually not sure what kind of a tournament it's going to be. We are yet to see the invitation, if it's going to be a classical event or a rapid or a blitz. So you need to be well-rounded by then. So there's so much work to do.
We are very happy as KCB to have 4 men out of the team of 5. So 4 KCB players out of 5 men. And I think 1 lady out of 5 for the KCB contingent. So we are happy about that as KCB. But moving forward, we are looking forward to serious preps as the national team, and then we see how we'll do during the All-Africa Games. But I think our chances are pretty good.
And to some golf action, and the magical Kenya Ladies Open tournament has been touted as a beacon of hope for Kenyan women golfers. Naomi Wafula is one of the top Kenyan golfers participating in the tournament, has said that the tournament will give them the opportunity to compete at a higher level and prove that women can excel in professional sports. The magical Kenya Ladies Open will take place on the 2nd to the 5th of February in Vipingo Ridge, Kilifi County, and will feature some of the top female golfers from Kenya and around the world.
So excited that the LAT Magical Kenya Ladies Open is coming back to Vipingo Ridge on the 2nd to 5th of February. I'm looking forward to it. I've done a lot of practice. I've been going to the gym 5 days a week. I've been having my coach help me with my daily routine. And I'm very grateful also to Vipingo Ridge who are helping me in this journey so that I can be able to make cuts. I'm confident with my game at the moment. Since last LAT, it's improved very much. And I think I'm going to perform much better than last year. And I'm very looking forward to it.
Well done is the sports, and so is the news tonight. Many thanks to you for choosing Hope TV Newswatch as your preferred source of news. On behalf of the A1 team that made this bulletin so seamless, have yourself a blessed night. Kennedy Kimani is my name, and on the bottom right of your screen has been the very able sign language interpreter Boniface Mureithi.